Baines, Shanique Gums, Marshall Jarvis, and Lakeisha Mack. So 6 graduates here this afternoon in the ceremony.
And might I add, I see at least one colleague from the Christ-King High School, so I have to put that one in, always striving for excellence, and it's no doubt that she's present here. That's Miss Lakeisha Mack. So yes, very, very fitting, and just waiting for the ceremony itself to begin, being serenaded by a lovely pan selection right now. And I think that we'll probably begin in no time.
Yeah. The ceremony should begin pretty shortly. We have, as you mentioned, on pan, Can Cordes, it goes by Casey, of course, the Director of Culture, playing to accompany us this afternoon before the ceremonies actually begin. We will be featured, or we will have a few featured speakers this afternoon, Andrea. We're still awaiting the arrival of the Governor General. He should be here, as well as the Prime Minister. And Prime Minister will be speaking. He, of course, very influential in the setup of the campus here. He would have spoken at length about all the negotiations that would have gone into play to ensure that Antigua, and by extension the wider OECS, has access to education right within the sub-region.
Exactly, and we know that it was definitely a tremendous feat by him, a new feat for Antigua and Barbuda on behalf of the government of Antigua and Barbuda. However, I definitely look forward to the development that we're going to be having in Antigua and Barbuda by virtue of this momentous achievement. I think that it leads to a lot of diversity with regard to so many people from the OECS coming to get their education here. And of course, no doubt, revenue and development for Antigua and Barbuda. Yeah.
Indeed, of course, you itself would have been earmarked as the hub for information technology when it first began. It was foreseen that in conjunction with the Antigua Barbuda International Institute of Technology, we take IT a bit further within the sub-region. We're still waiting to see that materialize fully. However, recently it's been identified as a hub for marine studies and the blue economy. So looking forward to see how that will take off here at the UWI Five Islands campus, of course, the 4th landed campus, as we progress in a hopefully post-COVID era. We're hoping to see how that will play out.
Now I know everyone knows, or everyone has heard that back in the day they would say that Mona is for medicine, Cave Hill is for law. As you have your background obviously in education, what do you think that you want to see here in Antigua and Barbuda with regard to education pioneering?
Well, I think this is a great start, if I'm being honest, Andrina. I think once we're able to provide the kind of contextual education for educators in Antigua and Barbuda, we would have been well on the way to providing quality education. I think it starts with preparing our teachers, so that once our teachers are able to go into the classroom and transmit the kind of contextual knowledge that students need, I think gone are the days. All right? Right, we're seeing the procession of the graduates now. We've been talking so much, we've been missing out on this. So let's just go straight to see the graduates processing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a few housekeeping matters to deal with before we actually start the ceremony. Before we begin our inaugural graduation ceremony, I'd like to remind you of a few important matters. We ask first that everyone turn off their cellular phone at this time. And we would also like to advise that the university provides an official photographer who will take all photographs while the graduates are receiving their certificate. No one else would be allowed to access the presentation area during the ceremony. We also ask that you remain in your seats and please refrain from taking photographs and selfies. The university shares in your pride at this graduation, but we appeal for restraint when the names are called, so that all graduates can hear their name clearly. Graduates and their guests are expected to remain for the duration of the ceremony. We also ask that you keep aisles clear at all times. And at the end of the ceremony, we ask family and friends to remain seated until the procession has exited the building. We wish you an enjoyable ceremony. You can sit at this time.
All right, we would have heard there from, of course, Denise Gardner. She, of course, giving a preamble.
We're actually waiting for the arrival of the Governor General.
She's a chairperson, of course, of the Board of Education, giving the University Registrar's preamble. There's some housekeeping matters to ensure that there's order kept here in the hall this afternoon for this ceremony. As she said, we are just awaiting the arrival of the Governor General. We are hearing he's on the outside. We're just waiting for him to make his entrance. Right, now that the graduates are here, we are continuing to hear the prelude there by, of course, two of our panelists now. Someone else has joined, Can. Let's just go through what will happen this afternoon. We've already had, into the prelude now, we've had the University Registrar's preamble. As we said, we are awaiting the Governor General's arrival and Trina. And then we will have the fanfare. Of course, we talk about a procession. A fanfare heralds the campus council chairman's procession, which enters and arrives, and everyone will be asked to stand at this time. Take us through the rest of the procession, Andrea.
Sure, and shortly after that, we'll have the campus council chairman's procession, and this will approach the company in the following order. We have the director of administration, the chief marshal, the head School of Health and Behavioral Sciences, the head of the School of Humanities and Education, the head of the School of Management, Sciences and Technology, the director of academic affairs, the pro-vice chancellor and principal of the Five Islands campus, the feature speaker, which is the Honourable Gaston A. Browne, the mace bearer, and the campus council chairman. After that, we will have the chancellor's address, where the chancellor will, of course, address the company. And then shortly after that will be the graduation address. The campus council chairman will call on the feature speaker, the Honourable Gaston A. Browne, to address the company. After this, we'll have the cultural presentation. I'm wondering if the music has lowered because we are expecting the Governor General's arrival. Yes. Well, let me just continue. And after that, we will have the award, of course, of the higher degrees, which is why we are all here today. This will happen when the University Registrar addresses the Chancellor and call on the Director of Academic Affairs, Dr. Curtis Charles. He will present those persons who have been awarded postgraduate diplomas. After that, we will have the well-awaited valedictory address. The campus council chairman will invite the class representative, who is Miss Lonnie Richards, postgraduate, as we said, in diploma in education, to address the company. And of course, we are well awaiting to hear what she has to say on behalf of the cohort. After this, we'll have the Alumni Pledge, where the campus council chairman will call upon Mr. Gilbert Findlay to lead the graduates in reciting the Alumni's Pledge. After this, we will have the university song. The campus council chairman will call for the playing of the university song, which is There Is a Light. And then the closure of the ceremony. The campus council chairman will declare the ceremony at an end. The processions will retire in the following order: the campus council chairman's procession, then we will have the graduates' procession, and of course the company is asked to stand and remain in their places until the processions have, of course, retired. So we're still waiting for the Governor General's arrival. After such, we will begin the program.
I think we've just gotten a signal, not sure what that signal means. We're still awaiting the Governor General's arrival. We see Robert Mabudas, who is, of course, the Chancellor. He's on the outside awaiting the official procession. Let's just see, as we said, it's been a year beset by COVID-19. The university gone through 2 principals now in its almost 2 years of operation. Of course, we had Pro-Vice Chancellor Stafford Griffith, who was the very first interim principal. And now we've got Professor Denzel A. Williams, who is the current principal.
National anthem and the arrival of the Governor General.
Right, the company's been asked to stand for the playing of the national anthem and the arrival of His Excellency Sir Rodney Williams, Governor General. Right, so the Governor General, His Excellency, has arrived in Drina. We're now waiting on the Chairman's procession, of course, with all the directors of education and heads of schools to proceed down the aisles to take their place within the auditorium this afternoon. I think this afternoon, amid the pomp and ceremony, you can understand what graduation ceremonies have become like this year in Drina. Virtual for most, not many being able to gather. You would have wanted to invite all your family and friends to an event such as this. Unfortunately, that cannot be the case. I think the graduates were allowed only 2 to hold in the space today.
And I can definitely speak to that as a graduate of the Norman Manley Law School this year, where things were quite different. We had a virtual ceremony as well, and you are just a little bit disappointed because you want to walk across that stage, but at the end of the day, you keep in your mind that you have worked so tremendously hard for this achievement, and despite of all the challenges, you have still achieved your goal. And so at least the students here today, or the cohort, are able to stand face to face and stand proud on that stage and receive their certificates and diplomas. So many have not been fortunate to do so. Thankfully, in Antigua and Barbuda, we have been spared, I think, a lot of the worst of it. And so we're very proud and very happy that at least we can have a ceremony for them today. And as the procession, as the Governor General is walking in, I think we're going to have the Chairman's procession coming in right now, actually, because the music has begun, and yes, they have begun proceeding into the building. And so the Campus Council Chairman's procession, as we said previously, contains the Director of Administration, Chief Marshal, the Head School of Health and Behavioral Sciences, the Head School of Humanities and Education, the head School of Management, Sciences and Technology, the Director of Academic Affairs, the Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the Five Islands campus, the featured speaker, of course, the Honourable Gaston Browne, the Mace Bearer, and the campus council chairman, and they are proceeding up onto the stage as we speak. And so the program is well underway. Everyone has come into the building, and we're just going along the procession and waiting now for the Chancellor's address.
Indeed, yes, Andrina, and the Mace Bearer, of course, bearing significance to the fact this is a full university with a campus guild of students, etc. Of course, the Mace Bearer here is representative from the Guild of Students here at UWI Five Islands campus. All have been asked to sit. We're now ready to begin with the ceremony.
Principal, Professor Denzel A. William, His Excellency Sir Rodney William, Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honourable Gaston Browne, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honourable Darrell Matthew, Minister of Education, Sports and Creative Industry, the Honourable Dean Jonas, Minister of Social Transformation and Blue Economy, Ms. Rosa Greenaway, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Sport and Creative Industry, Mr. Claire Browne, Director of Education, University executives and other members of staff, graduate, distinguished guests. Welcome to the presentation of graduate ceremony for the 2020 graduation class of the University of the West Indies. I am Aziz Hadeed, Chair of the Council of the Five Island Campus. I have the honor of guiding you through these proceedings. We celebrate with our gratitude and their loved ones across the region and the world. I now invite the Chancellor to address the ceremony.
Vice Chancellor, members of the university leadership and colleagues, graduating class of 2020, greetings. This graduation ceremony is different from what we usually expect. While I deeply regret that our traditional ceremony of your academic accomplishments is not possible, this is a special event in your lives, and we are hoping to treat it with the significance and importance it deserves. There's a certain joy that you experience being able to share, being recognized by your fellow graduates, by the university community and your families. The virtual world does not allow this. It does not allow me to salute each one of you individually. I hope that this message will convey my pride in your stellar accomplishments during a year of many challenges. My warmest congratulations to each one of you in the graduating class of 2020. In saluting you, I also pay tribute to your families and loved ones who supported you through these strange times. Your success is also their success, and I ask you to acknowledge and celebrate their love, support, and care. During the year that you completed your studies, the university adapted its teaching and learning approaches to deal with the public health challenge. The transition to emergency remote teaching was achieved through collaboration Our technical teams, academic staff, and administrative teams work together, coordinated by the leadership of the campuses and the university. As a whole, they ensured that teaching and learning and all the processes that supported you could continue. I thank them for their commitment, and I believe that your achievement is a validation of their tremendous effort. Over this year, we have seen some powerful countries in the world brought to a standstill by a virus. Economies have been devastated, industries severely impacted, and communities set back. Many lives have been lost, and life as we know it has changed. The pandemic has exposed the inequalities in our societies and the weaknesses in our economic systems. But it has also highlighted the work of our heroes and heroines, whose dedication to service may never have been recognized without it. This year, too, we've seen a resurgence in the Black Lives Matter movement, a phenomena that has transcended borders, social and economic differences, and ethnic groups. I am proud that many of our students participated in activities organized across the region. I believe that this clearly signals that activism is alive among our student body, and I urge you to keep that solidarity in the forefront of your consciousness as you go forward with your lives. Across the Caribbean, 2020 was a year when we celebrated our democracy. There have been free and fair elections in Bermuda, Jamaica, Suriname, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and St. Kitts and Nevis. We congratulate all of our brothers and sisters on this achievement. Our region stands as a proud beacon of democracy, and the University of the West Indies has played a pivotal role in its development. The responsibility now falls on your shoulders as the next graduating class to keep our democratic traditions strong and vibrant. Contributing countries and their governments are an integral part of this institution. They provide the funding and resources to maintain it. And some of you are beneficiaries of government scholarships. Your countries have demonstrated their confidence in you. And I encourage you to demonstrate your sense of responsibility through service to your country. You will be needed in the days and months ahead as the region builds its new reality. Our collective capacity to respond to global challenges begins with knowledge, creativity, and innovation. You are now part of that process going forward, and I urge you to become agents of change in your chosen fields and in your communities. Universities have a fundamental role to play in the creation and communication of knowledge. Universities are expected to advance informed and ethical action through the identification of challenges and opportunities for the societies in which they serve. There has been a call for universities globally to help shape the post-COVID world based on values that include democracy, human rights, social justice, inclusion, and equity. We have seen evidence of this in the response by our students, alumni, and faculty to the call for direct assistance to people in need through the provision of healthcare services, in research being conducted, and the remarkable transition to an online environment. I must commend the UWI COVID-19 Task Force for the sterling work that they have done and continue to do to help the region contain and respond to the pandemic. Notwithstanding these initial points of pride, there is still much to be done. I urge you to build on the civic spirit, the social solidarity, and the sharing of technical expertise that has already been demonstrated. Look towards the future, past COVID-19. Your graduating class is evidence that what has been achieved with care and collaboration, underpinned by the knowledge provided and encouraged by this academy. Extend this ethos into all that you do in the future. Be active and engaged citizens. Be engaged alumni. Contribute to the University of the West Indies in any way in which you are comfortable. Continue to pursue knowledge. Indulge your creativity and innovativeness. Build a better future for yourselves and for your communities. Your future is bright. Congratulations. We are met today in order that we may mark by a formal ceremony the entry of certain members into the company of graduates and the academic achievement of others. As a university, we are an academic society of undergraduates, bachelors, masters, and doctors, and we follow the academic tradition in the pursuit of knowledge and the encouragement of learning. The purposes which are laid out in the preamble to the Royal Charter by which we have been granted the powers needful for the prosecution of our affairs. In pursuing these aims, our members advance from time to higher standing in the academic community, and it is proper that as a body we should celebrate their achievement. We do this by granting a degree or diploma or license or certificate, and we rejoice with our graduates in their advancement.
And now I invite Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice Chancellor of the UWI, to address the gathering.
Excellencies, Heads of State, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, Honourable Prime Minister, our distinguished Chancellor Bermudez, distinguished members of Parliament, Principal and distinguished colleagues, our honorary graduates, and our distinguished graduating class. We are gathered in the moment of triumph
All right, well, we are hearing from the Vice Chancellor, of course, Professor Hilary Beckles, making a virtual presentation. There seems to be a lull in the presentation. We're just awaiting for it to be remedied so we can continue to hear from him. He, of course, would have sent his congratulatory remarks in the booklet to accompany the program that is to accompany this afternoon's proceedings. We have heard from the Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Robert Bermudez. He would have spoken earlier.
Distinguished colleagues, our honorary graduates, and our distinguished graduating class. We are gathered in the moment of triumph
within this age of technology and this COVID-influenced era, having some difficulties with the IT, I guess, of the Vice Chancellor's message. We'll wait to see if this will be quickly remedied or if they will move on with the rest of the ceremony here this afternoon. He too would have sent his congratulatory remarks to the graduating class. Of course, I'm sure all of you listening, watching this afternoon are as proud as we are at the very first graduation ceremony from the University of the West Indies, Five Islands campus. All right, Aziz Hadeed making his way back to the podium.
I now invite the Honourable Gaston Browne to address the company.
Thank you very much, Campus Council Chairman, Sir Aziz Hadeed, and I acknowledge our distinguished Governor General, Sir Rodney Williams, as well as my colleague minister, the Honourable Darrell Matthew, Minister responsible for education, sports, and the creative industries. I also acknowledge Chancellor Robert Bermudez, who I understand is online, as well as Vice Chancellor Sir Hilary Beckles, of course the Principal, Professor Denzel Williams, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, our honorary graduates. Today represents an historic occasion. For the first time since the University College of the West Indies was created in Jamaica in 1948, a campus exists on Antigua to serve especially the people of the Leeward and Windward Islands. Today, this Five Islands campus, the fourth landed campus to be established in 71 years, holds its inaugural graduation ceremony. In doing so, UWI further fulfills its mandate, and we all know its mandate is to advance education and create knowledge through excellence in teaching, research, innovation, public service, intellectual leadership, and outreach in order to support the inclusive development of the Caribbean region and beyond, including its social, economic, political, cultural, and environmental aspects. Those who graduate today have become a part of history. Their names will forever be emblazoned in the history of this campus, in the history of the University of the West Indies, in the history of the Leeward and Windward Islands, and in the history of the West Indian people. In delivering this keynote address at the Five Islands campus, I perform a role carried out at the very first presentation of graduates on Tuesday, January 13, 1953, at the University College of the West Indies at its Simona campus in Jamaica by Sir Raymond Priestley, the then Chancellor of Birmingham University and a member of the Council of UWI. He described the graduates as the first of a few. For even though he was a member of the British Irving Committee that recommended the creation of a University of the West Indies, he could not envisage university education in our region becoming accessible to more than a few. He could not foresee the thirst for knowledge and advancement that existed within the subjugated West Indian people and the ambitious West Indian leadership. But our people understood then what our people appreciate now, that education is the key to both individual and national development. They wanted the highest possible level of education so that they could compete with the best in the world, proving their ability and using their capacity to raise up themselves and their people from the underdevelopment in which they languished. That is why, in a span of 73 years this year, UWI has produced over 230,000 graduates. That is no easy accomplishment. Among those graduates are Emmy Award and Man Booker Prize winners, a Nobel Prize laureate, entrepreneurs and chief executive officers, academics, specialist doctors around the world, and leaders of many Caribbean nations across all sectors of our West Indian community. Sir Raymond can be forgiven for his view in 1953 that university education would be for the few, because, as he observed with great cogency then, a university education, and I quote, is an expensive ideal that the West Indies could barely afford, especially in an inflationary world, end of quote. In that regard, nothing has changed. The cost of providing a university, and certainly university education, for which many thousands thirst, and which is vital to the development of our countries, has increased exponentially over the last 7 decades. Finding the money now to continue to provide it in a world paralyzed and battered by the COVID-19 pandemic is difficult and challenging. The World Bank estimates that because of the effects of COVID-19, about 30% of the world's emerging and developing countries have lost at least 10 years of income gains per resident. This has resulted in what the bank describes as a lost decade of growth for these nations. Further, the bank estimates that the global economy will be around 5.3% smaller, and that is $4.7 trillion smaller in 2021 than if it had expanded along pre-pandemic lines. Unfortunately, the economies of our countries that are served by UWI are among the hardest hit. But despite these brutal circumstances, the provision of university education is not a task from which West Indian governments can resolve, any more than it is an ambition that the West Indian people should abandon. In 1953, even as he acknowledged that the cost of a university education would be an expensive ideal, Sir Raymond also recognized that anything less would be a betrayal of our community whose destiny ought to be great. My government believes in this great destiny for our people and formulated a vision to transform Antigua and Barbuda into an economic powerhouse in the Caribbean. However, we recognize that access to a university education was quintessential to the sustainment and sustained advancement of our nation and the achievement of our vision. That is why we prioritize the establishment of UWI 5 Islands at great cost and sacrifice to facilitate the development of Antigua and Barbuda and the OECS sub-region as a whole. Now more than ever in our history, the observation of Sir Raymond is valid, pertinent, and compelling. I repeat what he said. Anything less than providing university education would be a betrayal of our community whose destiny ought to be great. And I say without any fear of contradiction that there is no betrayal taking place here in Antigua and Barbuda. Our countries need our educated and skilled people to fortify existing industries, create new ones, contribute to the diversification of our economies, to broaden the space for wealth creation and ownership, and to increase our competitiveness in the global community. That need existed even before the epoch of COVID-19. That is why, against all the odds, my government was determined to establish a university on Antigua to serve our people and the people of our neighboring states. It is why we allied with the University of the West Indies and why we spent scarce resources on the establishment of this campus at Five Islands. We were determined that neither our people nor our nation would be left behind. And we resolved that we would bring the university to the people so that all who wished to do so could seize the opportunity for higher learning and greater knowledge to improve their lives and strengthen the foundations of our nation. I know that I speak for my government and the people of Antigua and Barbuda when I say that we have no regret over the investment we made in the Five Islands campus. It was an investment in the upliftment of our people and of our nation. There can be no cause more noble, no pursuit more fulfilling, no accomplishment more joyous. This inaugural graduation ceremony, though small, attests to the worthiness and wisdom of our investment. Today, we graduate 6 persons with a postgraduate diploma in education. It is a small step in numbers, but a great leap in achievement. These 6 graduates are the first of the many who will go on to educate scores of other Antiguans and Barbudans in decades to come, adding to the wealth of our knowledge and capacity within our country. It is significant that at the 1953 ceremony of the University College of the West Indies, only 11 persons graduated. However, none were women. Today's graduation ceremony shows how far we've come in achieving the inclusion of women at all levels of our developmental process. Another significant thing about the 1953 ceremony was that of the 11 graduates, 7 were Jamaicans, 2 Barbadians, and 2 Guyanese. The only representation of the Leeward and Windward Islands was among the officials, not among the graduates. They included St. Lucian Garnet Gordon, representing the Windward Islands, and Antiguan S.T. Christian, representing the Leewards. However, while no Antiguan and Barbudan national was among the first graduates in 1953, 3 nationals of Antigua and Barbuda were among the first cohort of students and were very much a part of the student body of the university. They were from the Faculty of Medical Sciences, the first faculty to be established at the University College in 1948. But because their medical courses lasted 6 years, they did not graduate until 1954. The first graduates of the university in 1953 were from the second faculty that the University College established in 1949. That was the Faculty of Natural Sciences, whose students did 3-year courses and graduated in 1953, 1 year ahead of the medical students. But that group of medical students, the class of 1948, was unique. It was 33 of them, of whom 10 were women. And among the 33 were 3 Antiguan and Barbudan nationals, 2 men and 1 woman. The men were Mr. Donald or Dr. Donald E. Christian and Dr. R. Alfred Walwyn. The lone Antiguan woman was Dr. Ruby Lake Richards. Today, with special pride, we remember all 3 of these distinguished medical practitioners born of our soil. They came from one of the smallest territories of the West Indies, but showed that they were the equal of all. We applaud the mark they made and the service they gave. But because all our graduates today are women, we recall Dr. Ruby Lake Richards more especially. She broke the glass ceiling, pushed the frontiers of women's achievement, and helped pave the path for today's women to become leaders in all that they pursue. She helped to prove that gender is no obstacle to ability and should be no barrier to equality with men, and to ensure that they enjoy equality in every aspect of human endeavor. I spoke with Dr. Ruby Lake Richards yesterday, and told her of this historic occasion at which the first indigenous university campus in Antigua is holding its first graduating ceremony, of which all 6 graduates are women. Dr. Lake Richards was delighted. Her own career took her to Canada, where she served in hospitals as a general practitioner and subsequently as a respected psychiatrist until she retired 5 years ago at age 93. Presently, at the age of 98, and with her brain as sharp as ever, she asked me to convey her congratulations to our 6 female graduates and to tell them that as their first graduates, they are paving the way for those who follow. She also said that in today's world, there is every opportunity for women to succeed and that they should seize every opportunity with both hands. She also sent you, the graduates, her very best wishes in your future endeavors. And by the way, she also sent a handwritten note that was WhatsApped to me yesterday, so if any of the graduates may be interested in that note, I'll be quite willing to forward that note to you, which was written under her own hand at age 98 years. My government is committed to the upliftment and empowerment of our women in our society, which we want to be gender equal in all areas. Consequently, we applaud the success of our women in seizing educational opportunities, a trend which is noticeably evident throughout the campuses of UWI. It is amazing that the females are today outperforming the males, but the underachievement of our males is becoming increasingly worrisome. The latter is an issue that currently occupies the attention of my cabinet as we seek to devise strategies and programs to increase the matriculation and graduation of more males with a university degree. Whereas all work adds to national productivity and is embraced, more of our young males need to increase their ambition from climbing the back of a truck to work on a construction site to achieving a university degree. Today, I say to our women graduates and our women students, well done and congratulations to you all. And I trust that the males will emulate your success. Your hard work is paying off, and you are taking your rightful place as equal partners to men in our societies that need the contribution and hard work of both. Ladies and gentlemen, in part, it is the underrepresentation of the people of the Leeward and Windward Islands at the Mona campus in Jamaica and subsequently at the Trinidad St. Augustine campus and the Barbuda's Caville campus that fanned the flame of ambition for this Five Islands campus to serve the needs of the Windward and Leeward Islands more particularly. I remind everyone that having started operations in September of 2019, only 18 months ago, with 148 students, today the Five Islands campus has over 300 students across 3 schools and several exciting programs, including management, education, and nursing. And I'm pretty confident within the next few years, we should see an increase in the student body in the region of about 2,000 students. Our plan is to build on these programs to offer courses in 2022 and beyond in areas such as corporate finance, banking, logistics, and supply chain management, midwifery, special education, services management, and climate studies. That is why, even as my government faces formidable challenges in public health, a daunting debt overhang, structural financial problems, as we try to recover economy from this still menacing and threatening COVID-19 environment, we will not forsake this Five Islands campus. While in 2021, we will work toward the restoration of our economy by limiting the spread of the coronavirus and a swift rollout of vaccines to immunize our community, we know that the enhanced knowledge base of our people remains a vital ladder in our climb out of today's precarious circumstances. Therefore, I give the undertaking today that my government will do all in its power to provide funding for further infrastructural development and expansion of the Five Islands campus. We will also work assiduously to finance the operational budget of the campus for the next 5 years, and we will deepen our partnership with UWI to jointly devise solutions to major developmental issues. In pursuing these policies, we will also seek the fullest participation of the private sector in Antigua and Barbuda and neighboring territories, who will benefit from the wider and deeper pool of knowledge persons from which they can draw. Education remains at the center of our developmental aspirations, and our people at the heart of its attainment. Our objective is to get ahead of the longer economic impact of the pandemic by promoting investments to improve technology, healthcare, and importantly, education. This race will not be won by the swift. The prize will go to those with the resilience and the stamina for the longer haul. The painstaking path ahead of us will require sacrifice and patience, but most of all, it will require determination and stickability to overcome. Previous generations overcame centuries of slavery, exploitation, repression, and oppression to lay the foundations for the modern societies that we have seen constructed in only 6 decades of self-government in our region. That's who we are as West Indians. We have within us the same spirit that motivated our foreparents to fight for a better life, not just for themselves, but for the generations that followed. Today, our generation stands as the principal beneficiary. We are better educated and more competitive because our forefathers blazed the trail for our upliftment. I know that every graduate of this campus will want to blaze his or her own trail. But you must recall that each of you will leave this place certified and more knowledgeable because a previous generation cleared the way for you, gave you the opportunity, and allowed you to stand on their shoulders. I hope that this is something our graduates will keep in their minds. As they walk across the stage today, we hope that gratification comes with helping someone find their path, and that for making yourself or yourselves useful, not only just for yourself, but obviously for others. So you must understand that you have not earned the new opportunities with your diplomas all by yourselves, and that with these new opportunities come new responsibilities. And I recall the well-known biblical counsel in Luke chapter 12, verse 48. And it says, to those whom much is given, much will be required. I congratulate each graduate on the successful completion of your course of study. I congratulate Natisha Ali Grant, Jerusha Baines, Shanique Gums, Marshall A. Jarvis, Lakeisha Mack, Lonnie Richards on your achievement of a postgraduate qualification that would increase your marketability and stand you in good stead throughout your lives. You have written yourselves into the annals of this campus's history. In the decades to come, as the early beginnings of the Five Islands campus will be recalled, your names will glow brightly as its first stars. Now you must go forth recognizing that you must play a meaningful role in your country's destiny, that great destiny that Sir Raymond Priestley said that we ought to be great. But it will only be great if we resolve to make it so. We can emerge from our current circumstances stronger, bigger, better, and more vibrant than before. But again, we must believe in the need to make our country great. You who graduate today and those who benefit from the campus's teaching have the tools to help to make the future of our OECS sub-region brighter by embracing the urgency of now and utilize your knowledge, entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovativeness in building well-diversified, highly productive, and value-driven economies within the sub-region. I urge you, the graduates, to do so by stepping out boldly, compassionately, and purposefully in making your contribution to nation building. I wish each of you Godspeed and good fortune in your life's journey. Finally, I urge everyone to remain vigilant and to stay safe and healthy during this time of COVID. I thank you.
All right, we have just heard from the Prime Minister, the Honourable Gaston Browne there. He, of course, the feature speaker at this afternoon's ceremony. And he made a very impactful speech. Not what he said was it was a very small step in numbers, but a very great leap in terms of accomplishment.
Yes, he did say we have a very small cohort of just 6%.
Now we will now have a cultural presentation by the Department of Culture. And now I'm asking Sir Hilary Beckel to be back on the presentation.
Excellencies, heads of state, excellencies of the diplomatic corps, Honourable Prime Minister, our distinguished Chancellor Bermudez, distinguished members of Parliament, principal and distinguished colleagues, our honorary graduates, and our distinguished graduating class. We are gathered in the moment of triumph to celebrate and congratulate our students who have been tested by their professors as well as the COVID-19 pandemic and have triumphed. They have been resilient, resourceful, and you have risen above the challenges you have faced. I congratulate you with admiration. And it's within this context that I have the pleasure of welcoming everyone to this graduating ceremony. The entire University of the West Indies is gathered to celebrate this COVID-19 graduating class. You have been magnificent. On behalf of all of my colleagues, all of your teachers, your families, our funding governments, our online remote teaching and learning technical staff who have made it all possible, welcome and congratulations once again to our class of today. Our governments have been excellent in standing with us as we have stood with them. Together, we are moving forward to a better future for our university and our region. In these ceremonies, we celebrate the achievements also of our honorary graduates across our university, the standard bearers of excellence. We recognize their excellence as we thank them and celebrate them for their achievements. Our university has done well. And this year, we have celebrated our triple first rankings within the Times Higher Education evaluations. Your University of the West Indies has been ranked the #1 university in the wider Caribbean from a field of over 150 very fine universities. We have been ranked in the top 1% of the finest universities in Latin America and the Caribbean from a field of over 5,000 very fine universities. And we have been ranked in the top 1% of our age cohort, the golden age cohort on a global basis, the finest universities in the world between the ages of 50 and 100 years old. We congratulate you, our students, our honorary graduates. We have good reasons to celebrate with you through this difficulty, but we are now focused more than ever upon the future, and our future will be bright. Blessings upon you, our beloved university, and the region we serve.
Of course, 2020, and congratulating them for such a wonderful feat, and mentioning on very notable that UWI has consistently been ranked by the Times Higher Education since 2018.
We will now
and
have a
2020.
cultural
It was
presentation by the
ranked in
Department
the
of
top
Culture.
tier among many institutions. So, of course, it speaks to the quality here of education that you'll be getting at the University of the West Indies. And of course, now we will have a cultural presentation by the Department of Culture.
But you can present the world with one improved person, yourself. You can go to work on yourself to make you a person admired and respected. You can be that role model to set standards for others. You can control and discipline you to resist acting and speaking negatively towards anyone for any reason. You should insist upon doing things the loving way and the caring way, rather than the hurtful and harmful way. Then, and only then, will the change in you come. I was born by the river in a little tent. Like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it is. Then I go to my brother. And I say, brother, help me please. But he wind up knocking me back down on the knee. Oh,
wouldn't last for long. But now I think I'm able, Father, to carry on. And it's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it is, yes it is, yes it is. Said I know that a change is gonna come one day. I know a change gonna come. Yes it is. I know. Said life can be hard. Oh yeah. And times can get rough. But still I know. Still I know a change gonna come. Oh, 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 oh. Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Presentation from the Department of Culture, of course, a bit of spoken word with dance, and the message behind it really and truly was that, it takes a long time, but change is coming, and I think it speaks to the change and development in education in Antigua and Barbuda, and of course, making sure that you are willing to put in the work to be the change that you want to see. And I think, Ursula, we're waiting for the award of higher degrees, which should be coming up right now.
Yes, indeed. Let me join as well in saying congratulations to the Department of Culture for that awesome presentation. Tiana Sebastian, money for Browne, and there was Calvin Donaldson Jr. as well. Excellent presentation. They're very fitting for the very first graduation ceremony here. As you said, Andrina, we are awaiting the conferral of the degrees on the 6 graduates here this afternoon. It was said that Chancellor Bermudez will confer the degrees virtually. Interesting to see how that will play out. Virtual conferral of these degrees. I think we're just waiting for that to happen. I see preparations being made for that. We are anxiously awaiting, as well as our audience, I'm sure, to see how that will be done. All right. The registrar is apparently to call on the Director of Academic Affairs, newly implemented, Dr. Curtis Charles. He will present those persons who have been awarded postgraduate diplomas.
I now call on Director of Academic Affairs, Dr. Curtis Charles, to present to you members of our society for the award of master's degrees and postgraduate diplomas of this university.
Sir, I present to you these members of our society who, having fulfilled the requirements of the university, have been admitted to the postgraduate diploma in education, and beg that you recognize their advancement in our society. Natasha Allen Grant, Jerusha Baines, Natasha Allen Grant. Okay.
Authority
And just going through the list of the
in me,
persons who will
I confirm.
receive their award in postgraduate.
Vice Chancellor, members of the university.
We're just experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. And so while we wait, we're just going to mention once again the 6 young ladies who will be receiving their postgraduate diploma in education. That is
Invested in me,
Ali
I
Grant.
confirm on
Okay,
these
we're back
persons
on.
whose names are about to be called master's degrees and postgraduate diplomas of this university and recognize their advancement in our society.
Natasha Ali Grant, Jerusha Baines, Shanique Grams, Marsha Leigh Jarvis, Lakeisha Mack, Lonnie Richards.
And the postgraduate diplomas in education have now been conferred officially on all 6 of the awardees. That is Natisha Ali Grant, Jerusha Baines, Miss Shanique Gums, Marsha Leigh Jarvis, Lakeisha Mack, and of course Miss Lonnie Richards, after which we'll be having the valedictory address by none other than Miss Lonnie Richards, having just received her postgraduate diploma in education.
The representative of the graduating class, Miss Lonnie Richard, postgraduate diploma in education, to deliver her address on behalf of the class and to lead them in the Alumni Pledge.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to observe the protocols already established. I would like to start by sharing 3 facts. The most obvious, we are all teachers. Second, we are all women. Well, the most obvious and the second, I started fighting for first. And 3, we are the first graduating class of the University of the West Indies 5 Islands campus. It is a privilege to have been asked to give a response on behalf of the class of 2020. We are part of history. We are making a difference in Antigua and Barbuda every day. We are the future, and we educate the future. Pearson Education surveyed high school-age students to find out what made an effective teacher. The most frequently listed quality was the ability to develop relationships with their students, followed by patient, caring, and kind personality, knowledge of learners, dedication to teaching, and the ability to engage students in learning. Our dedication to teaching brought us to this point of our journey. Our journey began as students of the Antigua State College Teacher Training Department, but quickly changed to students of the University of the West Indies Five Islands campus. The transition was a rocky one. The journey was filled with personal and academic challenges, yet still we persevered. We spent the majority of our summer in 2019 and Wednesdays during the school year together, developing our ability to engage students in learning. However, no one could expect a pandemic towards the end of our journey, which put us in the unique situation of adapting to uncertain times as both students and teachers. Yet still, we persevered. 2020 has required us to be resilient, resourceful, and innovative. We have learned from and supported each other continuously, as only the Fab Six could. I encourage you, therefore, to remain steadfast in your quest to not just educate, but to make a difference in the lives of your students. We won't be able to educate everyone, and some of our wins may not even be academic. I teach PE, and my greatest win last year was getting a well-formatted and typed email from a student. It is those small victories that will motivate us to keep on keeping on. Before you are 6 educators, a noteworthy Natisha, a jovial Jerusha, a selfless Shanique, a motivated Masha, and a loving Lakeisha, specializing in business, education, mathematics, and science. On behalf of the graduates, I say thank you. To spouses, parents, siblings, children, other family members, friends, and colleagues who helped us to make this achievement possible. Thank you to our lecturers for their understanding and lessons taught, as well as to the administrative staff for their assistance, especially during the uncertain times. Before I go, I will leave you with a quote by Zig Ziglar. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. Thank you.
All right, so Lonnie Richards there, giving her valedictory address. I'm very proud of her accomplishments. Of course, she will now lead in the Alumni Pledge.
I invite you to stand as we take the UWI Alumni Pledge. As a graduate of the University of the West Indies, I commit myself to uphold the ideals and goals of my alma mater. My conduct and voice shall reflect the commitment to excellence of the light rising from the West, as I fulfill my social and professional responsibilities and serve my community and region. I will strive to ensure the UWI's place as a Caribbean icon, the catalyst for Caribbean development and leadership. It is a legacy that I will proudly help build for future generations. The UWI, first in our hearts and first in our region.
And now I will call for the playing of the university song, There is a Light.
From Caribbean islands, Guyana and Belize, was born a university of the West Indies, proud symbol of our oneness, our strength in unity. With vision clear, you came along to shape our
sung very brilliantly in a pre-recorded way, of course. That has pretty much brought us to the end of the ceremony here today, Andrina. After the diversity song, the next item is the closure
This
of the
brings
ceremony.
to a
Aziz
close
Hadeed,
the
on the mic.
public ceremony by which the University of the West Indies has signalized the award of the Diplomas to its graduate. The company will now disperse, but not before permitting me to escort the Governor General and allowing the procession to leave.
As it was in reverse order, we are now standing to see the departure of His Excellency, Sir Rodney Williams, Governor General of Antigua Barbuda. He, of course, followed by Aziz Hadeed, CBE, the Mace Bearer, the Honourable Prime Minister, Gaston A. Browne. He's followed by, of course, Campus Principal and the Director of Academic Affairs. Then, of course, the graduates, who are all leaving. Graduates, of course, Natisha Ali Grant, Jerusha Baines, Shanique Gums, Marshall A. Jarvis, Lakeisha Mack, and Lonnie Richards. We're also seeing the departure of the Minister for Education, Sports and Creative Industries, Terrell Matthew, and the Director of Education, Claire Browne.
Yes, and of course, all of the graduates now beaming with pride as they exit the building. They have just been, well, the diploma of education has been conferred upon them, and of course everyone is extremely proud. It was quite a brief program, however it was impactful, I must say. I felt a sense of pride, and of course most notable from the Honourable Gaston Browne's presentation or address to the graduates, saying that their impact is obviously very important, and his government is committed to ensuring the expansion of the University of the West Indies Five Islands campus. So there's a lot more in store for education in Antigua and Barbuda.
I did say as well, it shouldn't end here for the graduates, Andrina, and that they should consider this just a stepping stone in terms of the overall contribution that they are able to make to Antigua Barbuda. So we're looking forward, excitingly, to see how that will transpire. It's been our pleasure, Andrina, my pleasure, I'm sure, as well as yours, to bring you the very first, we can see the inaugural graduation ceremony of the UWI Five Islands campus here in Antigua Barbuda. Being with pride, I'm not a pelican, but I am certainly very proud of this occasion. UWI Five Islands, of course, serving not only Antigua Barbuda, but the wider Caribbean region.
Yes, Ursula, and of course, I am a pelican, and I am beaming with pride. I feel like it was my own graduation that happened just about 2 years ago from the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus. And of course, I'm even more proud today because it is Antigua and Barbuda, my own country. And of course, we have to wrap up here today, but I had an excellent time, and it was a privilege to be here with you, experiencing this momentous occasion.
So on behalf of all of us here at ABS Television and Radio, of course all the production teams, the news teams, and of course your hosts, my name is Ursula Charles Jr., bidding you adieu on behalf of...
And my name is Andrina Athil. It was fantastic to be here with you today, and have a wonderful day.
Did you do anything?